Barlow here, and as I'm filming this, I've got a bit of exciting news. We just had a Pokemon press conference from the Pokemon Company, and in that they had some updates on their new projects that they have in the works. So I'm just going to go down some of the most interesting things for me there and give a bit of thoughts and commentary on what those might mean for us. First of all, one of the things I mentioned was Detective Pikachu. It sounds like they're probably going to be releasing a sequel to the original game on Switch. They did mention that the original game ended on a cliffhanger, which was resolved in the movie, but they say it's going to be resolved differently in this game that they're working on. So that should be... So from the sounds of things, it sounds like it's either going to be a sequel to that original game, or it's going to be possibly like an enhanced remake, an expanded remake, with an ending attached to it. But I'm thinking it's more likely that they're going to do a sequel to the original on Switch, just based on the information that they gave us in the press conference. They also announced that Pokemon Quest is going to be going to China. It'll be the first Pokemon game there, so that's pretty cool. That's a huge new market of people that are going to be introduced to Pokemon for the first time. So that's cool, and it also sounds like they're adding PvP to the Chinese version, so it's possible that could be coming over here to Western countries, I guess the rest of the world, really. It'd be pretty cool if it does. Like, I find Pokemon Quest enjoyable. It kind of becomes a bit of a grind eventually, but the game itself is it's pretty cool. It's an enjoyable spin-off, and like that's why I have a Pokemon Quest EV plushie. Well, in addition to it just being adorable looking. And another thing too, they mentioned some mobile games, like some expansions to Pokemon Go and events that are going to be coming to it, as well as a new mobile game called Pokemon Masters, which looks kind of interesting. I'll need to look into that one a little bit more. But the real exciting news that they announced in this press conference, the one that really gets me interested, is the news about Pokemon Home. So basically, it looks like this is going to be the new version of Pokemon Bank going forward. So they were saying in the press conference that the Pokemon world just in the last few years has expanded so much. Like there's so many new players just because of Pokemon Go and Pokemon Let's Go, and they want to cater to those people while also like preserving the people who've been playing and carrying their Pokemon forward since literally since the Game Boy Advance. Like you couldn't. There are people who have Pokemon still with them from the Game Boy Advance games, so they want to obviously preserve that and allow people to keep their treasured Pokemon into the new generation. So they announced Pokemon Home, which is going to allow people, based on the information that they provided, they didn't provide any specifics, but based on a graphic that they showed, you're going to be able to transfer your Pokemon from Pokemon Bank in the 3DS to Pokemon Home. You can also transfer from Let's Go and Pokemon Go. You can transfer them all in there. And then when Pokemon Sword and Shield release, you can also transfer them from Pokemon Sword and Shield. But based on the graphic they had, they also had an arrow pointing back to Pokemon Sword and Shield, and that was the only game in which they had that. So that has a couple different possible meanings. Probably the most likely and obvious one is that Pokemon can be taken from Pokemon Bank, Go, and Let's Go, and then be transferred over to Sword and Shield as a one-way thing. So it would probably be kind of like how currently Pokemon Bank, it can, if you have a Pokemon from an earlier generation, it'll change all their stats into a way that it actually works with the Gen 7 games, but it won't be able to work in vice versa because it has all this new added data that's been put on there, which is incompatible with the old generations. So, especially considering that Let's Go and Pokemon Go have very different ways of tracking like your statistics and like the power and level of your Pokemon, that seems pretty likely if you'll be able to transfer them over to Sword and Shield that will be the case. It also kind of supports my theory that I've had going forward, that Meltan and Melmetal are probably going to be a Pokemon Go and Let's Go exclusive event Pokemon, so you're probably not going to be able to actually get them in Sword and Shield in-game. You're probably going to have to trade with them from other people, which it's kind of annoying, but at this point I have Let's Go and I've been playing Go, so I can get one pretty easily. My only annoyance there is that I haven't got the shiny version of it yet. I had no luck during the last event they have, so I'm hoping that they do at least one more Meltan, a shiny Meltan event, so I can actually get a hold of that and get it into my game going forward. But that's just how it goes for now. Otherwise, I might just have to trade with someone. So the other possibility there is with Pokemon Home is that you may be able to transfer all these Pokemon into Home from Let's Go and from Go, but there might just be some sort of tag on there that they are from those games and therefore can only really be like kept in Go or Let's Go, and don't really interact with Sword and Shield. There's not really any evidence, I guess, of this. But there really isn't a lot of details that they actually provided in the show itself. So it's hard to say what exactly will be the case here. Like they didn't. My other worry too is like, so is Pokemon Home going to be providing storage like Pokemon Bank does currently? Is it going to be kind of like a newer, more robust version of Pokemon Bank? Like they did mention that they want to have like social features for it, like you'll be able to trade with your friends locally straight from there without having to like open up a game and trade through that. So that's kind of cool. It's something I'm sure I would be utilizing very much in the future. But like, yeah, so how many Pokemon can you store in there? Like Pokemon Bank right now, you can only store 3,000 Pokemon, which seems like a lot, but when you consider that like there's almost 1,000 Pokemon right now as it is, if you're training competitive versions of each Pokemon, like it's pretty easy to hit that cap. Like I know like a lot of big Pokemon YouTubers and players, like I think Pimp Knight has like, I think he said he has like 6 or 7 Pokemon banks all full. So if there is a cap on the amount of Pokemon you can have in your Pokemon Home, I'm kind of wondering how that's going to work, especially if each game can only be connected to one home or something like that. Like, are you going to have to buy multiple copies of the game or even multiple Switches in order to make Pokemon Home actually store all of the Pokemon that you have? Like, these are kind of the concerns I have at the moment. I really would like to get some answers from Nintendo regarding that. And if there's a price to it, which I'm thinking is pretty likely considering that Pokemon Bank had a $5 a year charge to keep the servers maintained. Which is fair enough. Like it's only $5. I would certainly prefer, and I think Nintendo could afford to make them free, but I certainly have never regretted the $5 a year in order to keep all my Pokemon stored. The other concern I have with it is that it's about preserving these games going forward, which is fair enough, but I've had the same problem with with Pokemon Bank, where I feel like inevitably at some point Pokemon Bank is going to shut down, and when that happens, it's cutting off any past support for Pokemon games from 3DS or earlier, which is kind of unfortunate to the legacy of this franchise. Like it's absolutely insane that you can go back all the way to the Game Boy Advance, play Pokemon Ruby or Sapphire or whatever, and then transfer that Pokemon all the way up to modern games. Like that's incredible. It's something so unique to this one franchise that you can do. But my fear is that with Bank and now with Pokemon Home coming to essentially replace Bank, like that's going to end at some point. The only real workaround I can see to it is if they re-release all of the games on Virtual Console or something, so that way you could continue to play them. It's not obviously it's not like 100% perfect, but at least that way you can still play the original games and then move your Pokemon forward through them eventually. I think a worse workaround that they could do as well is release some sort of peripheral which you can buy in order to like connect your game packs into it, and then you could transfer all the Pokemon from your game packs onto your Switch or whatever. But that's obviously a very inelegant solution. It's certainly more expensive and pretty niche, to be honest. So I think releasing the original games on a Virtual Console or something is probably their best bet in order to maintain that legacy. It worked pretty well with the Gen 1 and Gen 2 Virtual Consoles, and in many ways it made it even better because those games, you couldn't even transfer the Pokemon from them originally. So the fact that you can do it now through Virtual Console has actually kind of improved those games in some ways. But yeah. Oh yeah, and the other thing about the Pokemon Home that I forgot to mention is that it's based on it's going to be from your smartphone and from your Switch, it sounds like. So you can actually just pull out your phone and manage all your Pokemon on the go. So I can see myself just like pulling this out and just doing this at any time, really, like, because it sounds like a really cool service. Again, I have concerns about it, but I'm hoping that those get addressed soon. It does sound like it's coming out in early 2020, so hopefully not too long, because I do want to get all my Pokemon from Ultra Sun and Moon and Bank and all my other games essentially, and get them on there, so so I can do some competitive battling with people going forward. But I might have to wait a little bit for that. So hopefully not too long. I'd like to get my living decks put back together as soon as I can. But yeah, anyway, that's the information we have right now. If I get any more information that comes out of this or any more speculation, I'll try to get a video done up on that. In the meantime, there is a conference on Sword and Shield, or a Nintendo Direct on Sword and Shield that's going to be done next week. So I will certainly be doing multiple videos on that when it comes out. So look forward to that. I will definitely be making the most out of that and getting us all up to date. Hoping that we get to see the next stage of evolution for the starters, and that's certainly just gonna that alone could fuel at least one good video. Just seeing what the next evolution of the starters is going to be, and figuring out what their typing and theme and everything is. But yeah, so that'll be on Thursday, I believe, of next week. So look forward to that. I am certainly looking forward to it myself. Anyway, this is Barlock. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.